Hey guys, Mustached Tom here to review the movie Wicked, based off of the popular Broadway show that's based off of a book that came out even earlier. I have not seen the Broadway musical myself, but even I was at least aware of one of their songs as early as, say, high school, I think, about. So yeah, it was not so surprising to see that Wicked would make a film adaptation here. And a very successful one at that. Now, I will say in advance that this is a part 1 of 2 movie, though despite that, I would still argue that part 1 is clearly still worth it. Especially if you're into musicals, or if you were familiar with this particular musical specifically, I suppose. But anyways, we'll get into the review as objectively as possible. This will be a spoiler alert, but I will say that I do find it funny before we officially begin that the I guess we call them the anti-woke crowd now these days. Those folks, the ones that are trying to argue the go woke, go broke argument, no, that's nonsense. Their best argument for this movie, and I kid you not, is to go to the interviews and just be like, oh, the actors are crying, they need to stop crying. That's all they have for this. They cannot focus on the movie because they know how popular it is. I guess. Anyway. So, we learn that the Wicked Witch of the West has been slain. And Glinda, I'll just call her short name for the sake of simplicity, floats down to inform everyone that this news that has been spreading is a truth. So she sings about how they have conquered evil, but what makes someone wicked? Is it something that they're born with, or is something that is, brought onto them by other factors, as it were? And it transitions the song from her to the mom and dad of the witch, whose name I'll just say now, Elphaba. They have an affair going on where the dad leaves and the mom sees some other guy, and she's getting drunk and they're getting a little busy. And I guess the drunkenness is what causes the born baby to be born green. I guess that's what the thing is. But she is nonetheless raised by one Dulce Bear, and she has a younger sister, Nassar, who's not green, but other kids, all these little munchkins, are mocking the little sister, which causes Elphaba to use her magic and flick rocks at them. And she is blamed for the attack, I guess. One of the individuals in the crowd, back to Glinda, asks if she and Elphaba were once friends. She says yes, and the rest of the movie takes place via flashback. So, Elphaba is getting ready to drop off her sister to this new school, but the father demands her that she needs to bring her all the way inside. Once mocked and all that, it procs another one of her abilities, and one of the teachers sees this and is vastly impressed. Everyone is forced to stop, or everyone's moved aside. But luckily, the teacher claims that it was her that was doing it. This teacher prompts in pulling Elphaba inside and wanting to teach her. And she's excited by the prospects of meeting the Wizard of Oz. And she has a vision of being celebrated. Glinda asks how she was able to even pull that off later on. And during their shared room experience, she breaks a window open, still using some of her leftover magic. But they both proceed to write letters. And it is here where they start to sing about their friendship/rivalry with each other. And it is definitely here where I can see where certain people would take this at the context or subcontext of a deeper relationship between the two. But I suppose, based on what I know about the play now, because I've actually seen the rest of it, I guess that would make both of them bi, which is neat if that were the case. I don't know if there's been that many main characters that are bisexual, to be honest. I don't know if I can name 5 main gay characters generally, even gay characters. Sheesh. That would be a struggling test. Especially well-written ones. Oof. Talk about setting the bar to impossible risk, or, impossible task bar. But whatever. So Elphaba is trying to create a space for herself in the room. But we get to their next classroom after this little situation where Elphaba starts to connect with this goat teacher whose name I did not write in my notes. And he talks about how Oz used to be different, how the animals used to be treated as equals, but they're starting to be... something is starting to go on with them. And she, seeing how the teacher has been pranked by this note left behind by somebody, she tries to want to help, but is prompted to just go to her next class. So she goes to her magic class. And it is shown here that it is for sure her emotions that push her to flow the magic outward through this coin that she was focusing on here. So she follows the teacher, and after the fact she learns that more of the animals are being enslaved as they're having a little meeting with one another. And thus begins to try to, make a plan or something about what they're gonna do. But, nonetheless, we have Glinda encounter a transfer student, sort of the bad boy of the group, the rule breaker. And in my notes, I just said, and it does come across as true, is that all the students, even some of the guys, are like, So there's definitely, very gay undertones here, if there weren't before. And he sings about wanting to dance through life, not want to read any of the books provided. And to be fair, I know this sounds absurd to say that after saying the books, but I think he's half right. Half right. I think the outcome is poor about, not wanting to read any books, but to be fair, after going to a high school where you, the student, get to decide what you want to learn, I don't know. I think he has a point, because every other school to this day in 2024 is all about you have to do these classes, mechanical, you know, the same thing for every student, blah, blah, blah. Churn out all the best students that can do all the things. Don't make students unique. It's actually rather bleak when you think about it. So, he does kind of have a point. Just saying. Anyway, Glinda tries to get closer to him, and she's offering to help. In the meanwhile, Bach, this red-headed student, kind of pushing him towards Nessa, though, because he's kind of infatuated with her, Glinda that being. But before the party, Glinda offers Elphaba the black hat, which I think was her mom's, if I remember the notes or remember the movie correctly. And now they go to the Oz Ball. I think that's what it is called, and the dancing begins. Elphaba arrives late, and everyone's all freaked out, and she begins her unique dance. Now, this immediately reminded me of Wendy from the show Wendy. Well, the dance is obviously very different, but, same vibe. Similar and sort of like the oddball dancer, I suppose. But, once Glinda steps up to the plate to dance with her, other people are like, okay, this dance isn't that bad. We'll give it a shot. And after their little dance, they go off together. And Glinda endows a secret about something or other. And she, Elphaba, hides away her little vial that she still holds on to, the green vial. And she she believes that it was her fault that Nessa is bound to a wheelchair due to how her father treats her. It is here where, after the party, Glinda wants Alfie to be more popular, which this song, Popular, commences. It's probably one of the more silly songs in the entire musical, considering Elphaba is actually already getting some of the head nods a little bit, she's sort of being accepted a little bit more, so, it seems a little unnecessary, but I digress. Unfortunately, not everyone's getting the good stuff, as the goat is kicked out of the school and replaced by another teacher that has a little lion cub. And once the alpha cub is, being all, messed with, and everyone's not really doing much, Alphaba casts a sleeping spell, and for some reason, the bad boy is immune. We're not really sure why yet. But they run off, taking the cub somewhere safe. And then, with her being with him, she sings that she can't be that girl, the one, because she does recognize that he, or she, that being, Glinda has feelings for this guy. But it is after she returns that she is invited by Oz, personally. This is where Glinda shortens her name to, well, just Glinda, instead of Glinda. Alphaba, also getting her name shortened around some point to Alfie. I'll just keep calling her Alphaba though. Gets pulls on board Glinda to the train to Oz. They walk through the city, and they get a cameo appearance from the original cast of Wicked here. And then they go to meet the wizard, Oz. Oz was expecting her, and he insists upon their help in trying to figure out, he's trying to help other people get to him. So he's trying to lay a foundation, a brick road, and he's trying to figure out what color. They decide on yellow. But shortly after, and he does a little mini song here about being all parental and whatnot. After his song, the spell casting teacher arrives. And they have Alphaba cast her first spell based on this book that he's holding, which proceeds to give the monkey guards that they have a bunch of wings. And it is also here where she learns that Oz can't cast any spells, as it obviously turns out that he's no wizard at all. So Alphaba runs off, and the teacher instructs the now flying monkeys to try to get her, as they too rush to the blimp. Alphaba and Glinda go to the roof. Here they sing their final song, Defying Gravity. This is where Alphaba brings up her broom, or casts a spell again, and it affects the broom and not her. So she now has her flying broom, the final piece to the puzzle. Well, she's also given a cape by Glinda. And as the guards are working their way in, she knows, and so does Glinda, that she's being cast as the villain, that this whole operation is based off of providing a villain so that the people of Oz never figure out that Oz is just a sham. So it's all just a bunch of fakeness. All illusions, all this nonsense, all for to keep up this grandeur. So she warns them that no wizard will ever be able to stop her. And she flies off. And when she does, that is the end of Wicked Phase 1, or Part 1. And despite it being a Part 1 of 2 movie, I think it's definitely worth watching, especially if you're into the musical genre. Or if if you're just okay with musicals, even in that level, it's still surprisingly really good. And it's already proven. It is blown up, as it were. This is a popular movie. It is perhaps shattered expectations, may one say. But I myself am among that crowd that is highly impressed. Dare I say a 9 or a 10 out of 10 type of movie. It's been a bit since I've done one of those, but hey, I think this movie is definitely worth that caliber, even as a part 1 type movie. Usually, I'm not even a fan of the phase 1 and 2 type of movies, typically speaking, but I can understand why certain movies are brought to that level. As early back as the early Harry Potter movies. Hunger Games, I believe, also had one that was like split in between 2 movies. And there was one other movie. It wasn't Divergent, was it? There's like one other movie that I'm thinking of that was like split between 2 movies. That's like a part of a franchise or something. But you can sort of thinking of it like a soft sequel without it being a sequel. It's sort of like that, I guess. But yeah, easy 9 or 10 out of 10. Like, this is top tier. Like, there's a reason why Wicked had become one of the biggest musicals out there. Like, this is a musical. If you're into the musical world, this is a musical you would want to be a part of. Like, surely. Like, it's among the top of the top. So yeah, I'm not surprised that it was made into a movie adaptation, and I'm not surprised that it broke, the scale of what to expect. Not even the anti-woke crowd that usually hate this stuff, they couldn't breach it without looking like a bunch of idiots themselves. That's how awesomely big this movie is. Anyway, that's my review of Wicked. If you ended up enjoying it, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out those links in the description. 100 to my petition to help out small YouTubers. Second to my PayPal, where you can help support me and my channel directly. And third to my Discord server, where you can join, collab, chill, do all that cool stuff. And until next time, everyone, bye-bye.